But the timing of everything is definitely less than ideal, only because of the whole entire world falling apart right now. So there's that. Make a little bang sandwich. That doesn't sound very family friendly. What's up, Rainbow Heads? My name is Caitlin Ford. I am a 10-year veteran hairstylist as well as an award-winning colorist who specializes in really, really weird hair color. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I think it's pretty obvious to anybody who's been paying attention to my channel, if you've been following me, that I went on a pretty decent-sized hiatus for the past couple of months and then came back and did a couple of haircutting videos. And I wanted to give you guys an explanation as far as like where I've been and what's been going on. I know at the end of the day, I don't really owe anybody like anything as far as knowing where I'm at with my personal life, but as much as I really enjoy doing like all the instructional videos and kind of showing you guys like how I do what I do, I just really wanted to kind of take a break from that and get serious with you guys and tell you what's been going on and the truth about why I haven't been uploading in a long time. And if you follow me on Instagram, the reason why I haven't really been showing a lot of new stuff on Instagram. I'm going to be redoing my bangs throughout this video so that you guys have something to watch other than me sitting here blabbing at your face. I have so far done 2 videos on how I do my bangs, so if you want the like details and the like technical side of that, there's 2 videos ready to go that show you guys the technical side of how to do this. I'm not really going to jump in and explain really anything of what I'm doing today. So by now all that information is available to you. I'll put a card right here so that you guys can see the last bang video that I did, which was neon rainbow bangs, which was really fun. But I'm ready to go back to my logo colors, the colors that I did in my very first bang video, if you guys watched that. So that's what we're going to be doing today as I kind of talk to you and give you guys sort of like the life update. So the very first thing that I'm going to have to do here is bleach. So we're going to start with that first. So I'm going to mix up and then we can jump into this little conversation here. So this video was a little bit challenging to figure out if I even really wanted to make it or not, to be quite honest. I definitely tend to be pretty resistant as far as putting a ton of personal stuff about myself out on the internet and about like my personal life and all of that stuff. I don't know. It's just very scary when you start talking about like the things that are kind of going on in your life. You know, I've been around on the internet for a little while now. I've been posting on Instagram now for, gosh, I think it's been like 6 years or something like that. And when you have been on the internet doing something for that long, you kind of get used to the fact that you're going to get like hate comments and backlash and things like that for, you know, things that you're making, things that you're doing. Maybe somebody doesn't like a certain look that you do or whatever. And to me, dealing with criticism for that kind of stuff is so much easier than like somebody who has a problem with something that you're doing in your personal life, you know, because it is personal. And so I think when it comes to sharing personal stuff, there's always sort of this scary aspect of like, gosh, if somebody has something negative to say about this or something that's not very encouraging when I feel like I don't really need to be discouraged right now, that's going to be really tough. It's just easier to be criticized for like the looks and stuff that I do or for something that I'm making. Like if you don't like it, it's, you know, it's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But like, when it comes to people criticizing you for the choices that you make in life or that sort of thing, or they don't agree with you or they don't relate to it or they just don't really understand it, it's a lot harder. So the reason why I haven't been on in such a long time is because I am actually in the process of getting divorced. And a couple of you guys in my last video, you kind of called me out on it. You're like, oh, I thought she had a husband and all that stuff, because I've mentioned him in other videos, but I've never, I never showed him on YouTube. Again, not for really any reason other than, as I said, I just really have a hard time getting super personal on social media, like as far as sharing too much about what's going on in my life. At the end of the day, I think that maybe hearing some of the stuff could help somebody out there who's maybe kind of going through a similar thing. So I decided to go ahead and talk about it. And really, I think that because the stress of like everything that's happening right now, like everything that we're not supposed to be talking about right now, combined with, what's going on as far as my divorce and all of that fun stuff. I just want to start this off by saying that I have no ill will towards my husband. I hold absolutely nothing against him, and the same, he feels the same about me. We actually are going through this very, very amicably, probably way more amicably than a lot of people end up going through these types of proceedings. And honestly, if I were to give anybody any advice as far as ending a marriage, do it when you still have at least a speck of respect for each other. I think that a lot of people try to make things work way past its expiration date. Obviously, my divorce situation isn't going to be the same as everybody else's divorce situation, and everybody has their own things they're going through and their own reasons for getting divorced. Maybe you guys have grown apart or whatever. I think that sometimes, the longer you're with somebody, you have a chance of growing apart, and that's just kind of how things go. You start to each kind of develop your own goals and your own things that you want to do, and both of us are very, very ambitious people. Both of us put a lot of ourselves into our work, and we're very passionate, and sometimes that can be a recipe for people to come together, and certainly in a lot of aspects we did come together on a lot of stuff, but sometimes you come to a fork in the road with your passions and the things you want to do, your sort of end goals, and I think that when you can't come together on those end goals anymore, that becomes definitely an environment where a relationship just cannot survive anymore. As I said, I have a ton of respect for my husband. I think that's probably sort of the weirdest part of this whole situation, is just amicably agreeing that neither one of us hates each other or has any vitriol for each other. We just don't work very well together as far as a relationship goes. And not to say that a marriage can't be repaired. Of course, it definitely can. Doing things like therapy together and just learning how to communicate better and trying to come together on your goals and everything. Obviously, that can make a huge difference as far as making a failing relationship work, But sometimes you get to a point where you kind of have to admit that this just doesn't work anymore. And we definitely, we reached that point. We still talk to each other. We're still working on stuff together as far as selling our house and getting our last tax season taken care of together that we're filing together for. And he has just really been a totally stand-up guy, especially with everything that's happening right now in the world. I am a hairstylist, obviously. I am an independent hairstylist. I don't work for any companies or for anyone except for myself. I do hair full time. And so I depended on him and his job for healthcare. We have kind of put off proceeding with finalizing our divorce right now because he still wants to make sure that I am taken care of as far as healthcare and that stuff, which is really, really great of him to do. It's not something that he has to do. And probably some people would argue that it's not something that he should do for me, but so the fact that he's doing that is just, that says a lot about his character. I feel like our breakup is kind of a very complicated thing because of all of that, because it is just a mixture of we tried really hard to make this work, and we couldn't get along, and that sucks. Sometimes two people aren't meant to be together. So there's no tea here. There really is there's no tea here other than two people who tried to make something work and couldn't. And sometimes that's the only way to sum it up. Luckily, we don't have children together, so there's nothing messy as far as that goes. Except for we do have 2 fur babies. They are staying with me as of right now. And my husband, I actually currently live in St. Louis, and he's actually getting ready to move to Phoenix, Arizona for a job out there. So lots and lots of changes between the two of us. It's just really crazy, the timing of everything, the timing of all of this stuff is just, I feel like when is there a good time to get divorced? You know, there's some things in life that, you know, the timing will just never really actually be there for. It is crazy to be getting divorced at 30 years old. For those of you who don't know, I am 30 years old. I turned 30 in January. I think for a lot of people, there's sort of this idea that getting married is kind of like one of those things that's on your list of life goals and accomplishments. And I think that in some aspects, getting divorced right now kind of feels like taking a step back in life, even though I know that it's the right step. It's like unchecking a box that was checked. Not that a marriage should be viewed as a check mark, but the timing of everything is definitely less than ideal, only because of the whole entire world falling apart right now. So there's that. Okay, we'll let this process here for a little while. Make a little bang sandwich. That doesn't sound very family friendly. Sometimes when I post a bang video on Instagram, I get the comment that I look like one of the girls from Handmaid's Tale. And with my red outfit and this on, I definitely think we're there right now. But yeah, the timing of everything could not have been worse, as far as the whole world deciding to fall apart. Collectively at the same time, and being trapped, not working and all of that stuff. And honestly, I really admire content creators who are able to just like be on the ball and creating nonstop every single day, and who are always thinking about new ideas and are always churning out something new and posting 2 videos a week and like all that stuff. It takes so much work to do this. I am definitely somebody who struggles with like depression and other mental health issues. And the past couple of years have been challenging for a number of reasons. But when I feel like I am in a funk, it is so much harder for me to create, honestly. And as much as I really enjoy doing this and as much as I really enjoy doing what I do, and I really enjoy coming up with ideas and like putting it together and showing you guys, you know, there's a lot going on in the world. I have just felt very overwhelmed, just mentally. Right now, it just feels like so much has changed in such a short amount of time. I didn't plan on crying in this video. Even though right now I have like a ton of free time because obviously I'm not working right now because of the thing that we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. And for me personally, my work is like my like happy place. It's my escape. It's where I just really feel just really good. Like it feels good to be productive. It feels good to feel like you are helping people. And, you know, I think that maybe it seems a little bit vapid to think that, you know, doing hair is helping people. But, you know, I think that when you are making somebody feel better about the way that they look, it helps them in a way. It makes you feel more confident. It makes you feel better. Like, I feel like when you do something and you're taking care of yourself, you always feel better about that, you know? And what is more luxurious than having somebody, you know, take care of you? And I really appreciate the process of feeling like you're making a difference in somebody's life, even if it's a small thing, you know. And it's been very difficult, very, very difficult not having that. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, as you may have guessed from my subscriber count. You know, like my channel has grown pretty quickly in a short amount of time, which is amazing. It probably could have grown faster if I had been a little bit more consistent with it. And now my views have dropped off because I have not been on here in a long time. But at the end of the day, I love what I do. I love being behind the chair every day. I love seeing my clients. I love doing their hair. I love talking about, you know, what's going on in their lives. And I really, really miss it. Like, it's surprising how much I miss it just from being off of work for a few weeks, which is really strange. I feel like a lot of people would almost be excited. Like, I've worked for a long time. You know, I've worked pretty much since I was old enough to work, and I think that a lot of people might, you know, appreciate the opportunity to have like several weeks off. I think the combination of just feeling unproductive and also not knowing what's going to happen is scary. It's hard because it's like, you know, obviously things are going to reopen at some point, but when those things do reopen, it's hard to know where my clients are going to be in their lives and everything. And the things that affect your clients will affect you too. So if your clients are getting laid off, if they're not getting their jobs back, then you're going to be affected by that too, because usually when you're in a financial pickle, the first thing that you do is you cut out things that are not necessities. And hair, as wonderful as it is, and for some people it does feel like a necessity. They won't give it up no matter what, but for some people it will be the thing that they give up. So I am worried about my client's situation, and I'm worried about how that will affect me. And maybe that's a little bit selfish, but it's the truth. I am really sorry to you guys who thought that this was going to be like maybe a hilarious, like uplifting video, and it's kind of a bummer so far. Real life, man, it happens, and when it happens, most of the time you're not expecting it. It's been a lesson that I seem to keep learning over and over and over again. And one thing that I will say to anybody right now who's kind of going through it emotionally right now, the reason why I didn't really want to talk about this is because I hate feeling sorry for myself. I hate whining. I say that as I just cried on camera like a little bitch, but I really do hate whining, and the reason why is because no matter how hard I feel like I have it, I always know that somebody else out there is dealing with something more difficult and usually handling it a lot better. And of course, every individual's feelings are valid. I think that's something that I've always struggled personally with accepting, is learning that you should never compare what you're going through to what somebody else is going through and how they're handling it, no matter what degree of worse you think that person has it, because your feelings are valid. And I want you to know that too. If you're going through something right now and dealing with it on top of everything else that's happening in the world, your feelings, whatever that is absolutely valid. Don't compare yourself to other people. It's something that I have not fully internalized yet. It's something that I think that I experienced my first very strong issues with when I was dealing with like my accident and losing my finger and that stuff. You know, for those of us who are like completely out of work right now, you can't work from home, you can't really do anything. I think that there is a lot of something that I would refer to as productivity guilt going around right now, and it is a collective plague that is affecting everyone, I feel like. I think a lot of us are kind of experiencing staying up way too late, sleeping in way too late, and then not really doing anything with our days, maybe just not washing your hair, not showering as much, and just kind of going through collective depression together, which is really crazy. Of course, the side effect of that is like just feeling like you're not doing enough. Maybe you're not getting to your dishes, or you're not tackling a project that you told yourself from the beginning of knowing that you're going to be off of work for a while that you're going to tackle, and you don't do it. And you keep telling yourself tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and you just don't get that thing done. It's really hard to get out of that cycle. But I just want to let you guys know that it is okay. It is okay to have these feelings. It's okay to not feel productive. There really is always tomorrow. You know, if you didn't get that thing done today, you can do it tomorrow. And if you don't do it tomorrow, you know what? It's still not the end of the world. I would definitely recommend trying to implement some kind of self-care routine to your day if you have the energy to do so. Just getting up and taking a shower every day, and making your bed, and getting dressed, getting out of your pajamas. Just those few little things can make a really big difference. Don't overwhelm yourself with some gigantic project that you had every aspiration of finishing during this whole crazy crisis. I would just start with those few things that you feel like you haven't been doing, and kind of go from there. And then don't beat yourself up for not being more productive, because it's not a failure. And by the way, you guys, I'm a hairpist, not a therapist, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I am not by any means a mental health expert, and if you have a therapist, you should be talking to them right now. But these are things that I feel like help me, and things that I kind of have to always have in my mind when I start to go down this like rabbit hole of like blah thoughts. And as a professional therapist, I will say that I definitely feel like what we are going through right now, what everybody is experiencing right now, is a collective trauma. That probably sounds like very, very dramatic, but I will tell you, like, when this stuff all first started hitting, I didn't take it very seriously. I didn't think that it was like as big of a deal as it actually was, because I was very ignorant in the beginning. And I really did think that, like, this is just the flu. People are making it out to be like a way bigger deal than what it is. And I was wrong. But I was in total denial leading up until when St. Louis decided to shut down all non-essential businesses. And that happened very quickly. And obviously all of this happened very quickly for everyone, and nobody really had a chance to prepare for it. When you find yourself just suddenly like unemployed, and you're sitting at home, you're reading these horrifying news stories every single day about everything that's happening in the world. We're not going to get into it, but obviously there's been some very, very horrifying things happening. It's really easy to kind of like go into a dark place, and it almost seems so bad that it like can't be real, you know, like it can't be happening. And I totally felt absolutely shell shocked in the beginning. I felt like this isn't real life, you know, like this isn't real. Like, this is not reality. There's no way. There's like this denial that happens. I don't know if any of you guys experienced it. I feel like a lot of people have experienced it, but I personally definitely experienced that crazy like denial feeling. After a few days of feeling that feeling of just like, this is a simulation, this is not reality, there's no way this is happening, it occurred to me that I had felt this way before. And to be honest, the last time that I felt this way was after I had my accident, which I think pretty much everyone who's subscribed to me probably knows that I'm missing my finger. I got into an accident. I lost my finger. After that happened, I definitely went through a period of just feeling like this can't be real, and just sort of like not fully accepting what was going on. So in my professional therapist opinion, I feel like what everybody is going through right now is a collective trauma. And again, I am not a mental health professional. I can't make that call. Maybe there's a couple of people watching who are mental health professionals who can say whether this is true or not. But I do personally feel like everybody is going through like trauma right now. And the reason why I kind of like draw that conclusion is I think about like the Great Depression. You guys didn't know you're going to get a history lesson today, but here we are. But you hear all the time about people who came out of the Great Depression who became like hoarders and these kinds of things, who have problems with like throwing things away and want to save everything and reuse everything and that sort of stuff. It's very hard for people who went through that to give things up, because people who went through that were living in such a state of scarcity that they understood what it was like to literally have nothing. And so then you have like this opposite reaction where you just feel like you need to hang on to everything. So I definitely think that world events can be a traumatic experience. So that being said, trauma is a very serious thing to go through. If you haven't gone through trauma before, it's a very, very serious thing to go through. Took a quick little peep at my bleach and it was done, so I decided to go ahead and take it off. So as I was saying before, I feel like we are all kind of collectively going through a pretty traumatic thing right now. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you're not giving yourself too hard of a time over everything that's happening. If you're going through something tough too, which you probably are, because like everyone that I talk to is going through something right now, I can tell you it feels really good to get color on this again. It was looking a little rough, so I'm feeling really, really good right now about getting some color on here. So before all this went down, obviously I was getting ready to kind of do some of the next step, kind of, I guess, starting my new life sort of things, and all of that is on hold right now. I was planning on buying a house. I was just working a lot, just kind of, you know, getting my life in order. If it sounds like there is a stampede happening, it's because there is a stampede in our house of dogs. So in the meantime of all of us collectively waiting to get our lives back, I have basically just been occupying my time with, well, obviously I've been starting to make videos again. I've also been trying to make sure that I stay active every day, because I mean, this is definitely a time where I feel like it's important to try to do some form of like physical activity every day. It doesn't have to be anything too strenuous, but I think that it is super important to make sure that you're doing something to move your body and get up and moving and get the blood flowing every day, because it's too easy to kind of fall in that trap of like sitting and doing nothing all day long. I've been doing a lot of cooking, which is really fun. Like cooking to me is basically like therapy in and of itself. I really, really enjoy cooking. And I've also been playing Animal Crossing like absolutely crazy. Like, oh my God, Animal Crossing has absolutely taken over my life. It's become a ridiculous obsession. I've definitely fallen down the rabbit hole with that. I really love playing video games, actually. Like, it's sort of a dangerous thing to me because I get very quickly addicted to whatever I'm playing. And I feel like Animal Crossing for sure is one of those games that's just designed to suck you into its vortex and never let you go. And on the flip side of everything, I mean, even though it's been very difficult to have all this extra free time when I'm like not really used to having any free time, it's such a bizarre thing to complain about. I mean, there's been multiple times in my life where I would have just given so much to have some time where I could just spend, 6 weeks off from work or however long it's going to be. Obviously with a little bit more planning than what has gone into this situation. But for the most part, I've been trying to make the most of my time while also giving myself a break if I, get up and I'm just not feeling it that day. And I really, really hope that all of you guys are doing the same thing. I hope you guys are giving yourself some grace and not giving yourself a hard time. I think that, some people are really good at that. Like, some people never stress about anything. Some people I feel like are just kind of naturally born with like a positivity bone or something. I don't know. But then there's those of us who really struggle with it. And I definitely am one of those people who struggle with staying positive when things are not so positive. So I think for me, like being productive or finding things to do and just trying to get myself out of that funk is what helps me sort of like mask those feelings, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think at the end of the day, it has to be about like whatever works best for you. And you really can't compare yourself to other people, whether, other people are dealing with things differently. Maybe they don't, they're not feeling the hurt of everything as much as you are. And so maybe they're not like as anxious about things as you are. But just remember to give yourself a little slack. We all need to be giving ourselves some slack right now, that's for sure. I've also been working with some people on a project that I'm really, really, really hoping helps out a lot of like industry people, like beauty industry people. I think that this situation has really highlighted, a big hole, especially in our industry, as far as people just not really having the capability or the preparedness to handle something like this, or just, I think in general, like if you are working in the beauty industry, you don't have like a lot of the benefits that other people who work typical 9-to-5 jobs do. You don't really have health care or paid time off or medical leave or any of these things. A lot of hairstylists I know are still being forced to pay rent right now if they're booth renting or renting studios, which is like really hard because a lot of these places, charge hundreds of dollars per week to rent. And so, usually you're paying that. It's not bad because you're earning money that week. So obviously you're going to be making that up. But when you're not earning any money, paying $300+ per week to rent somewhere, that is very painful to say the least. So that's another project that I've been working on, is just trying to figure out how I can use my time and resources to like help other people in my industry. And so that is like one of the things that I feel like I'm most hopeful about, is like, if nothing else, maybe some positive change will come from this. That is really, really the thing that I'm holding out hope for and trying to convince myself is going to happen. But on the other hand, I feel like you see this message all the time, sort of like everybody just needs to stay positive. And I feel like sometimes that phrase gets repeated so often that it ends up not really meaning anything, especially when you're feeling so anxious and so scared and so just like utterly mortified about what's happening. It's just that much harder to kind of take that message and be like, oh yeah, I'll just stay positive. I'll just like turn off all these feelings of anxiety and depression and all this stuff and just be positive. I think that's really difficult and not very realistic. And that's not to say that you shouldn't have a positive outlook about like what is happening and what is going to happen and just like the future in general. You know, I think that it's good to try to have a positive outlook, but I think that there is a point where you just have to allow yourself to go through the feelings. You have to allow yourself to go through that cycle and sort of accept reality. It's almost like we're going through like a grieving process of our previous lives before all of this happened. As far as like the future goes after all of this, it's just really crazy because I mean, I already, you know, I'm in the very beginning stages of getting divorced and I'm basically just separated at this point. So like, I mean, after you've been with somebody for such a long time, I think it's really kind of hard to think about dating at all. Obviously with everything going on right now, you really can't think about dating. But I think ultimately I just really want to give myself some time to kind of like refigure out who I am and kind of rediscover like who I am outside of a relationship. I was quite a bit younger when we first got together. I was 23 and now I'm 30. So a lot has changed in every aspect. I just feel like a completely different person now. So I just really think I want to figure out what it is I want to begin with. I honestly am not sure if I want to get married again. I personally don't plan on having kids. I don't feel like that's for me. And I also at this point don't know if I would get married again, which is really crazy because I feel like a lot of people who are in their early 30s or 30 and they're still single, that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to find a spouse and partner up and that kind of thing. But I do want to be in a relationship again. I do want that feeling of caring about somebody and having somebody like really care about you too, and all those things that go with having a relationship. But I honestly, at the same time, I'm not sure if I would get married again. I just don't necessarily think that marriage is something that you have to have in order to have like a valid, happy relationship, you know? And that's not to take away from anybody's marriages. Everybody lives different lifestyles. Everybody has different stuff going on. So don't feel like this is me kind of like coming at you for being married if you happen to be married. This is just me kind of processing my personal opinions and feelings. I think ultimately everybody just needs to do what is best for them. All right, you guys, I'm going to give this some time to process and I will be back to blow dry very soon. All right, you guys, so here is the result of my hair color. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, I have 2 other videos on my channel where I explain exactly how this is done. So if you want to find out the technical side of this, that is available for you to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed sitting and chatting with me today. I'll be back doing another color video very, very soon. I really hope that you guys are safe. I hope you guys are well. I hope that you guys are continuously washing your hands. But until next time, I will see you later, Rainbow Heads.